Check me out. Look, I know perfect timing feels like I'm too late. And I know I'm still great in spite of my mistakes. You know it's authentic every rhyme I say.
Hi everyone, welcome to the first 2021 episode of Perfect Timing Multisport, the podcast. My name is Daniela Ochoa-Elias. I'm thrilled to be on the other side of the mic this year. And today I have a really good friend who I could not be more excited to have and to be the opening conversation that we get to have in such an important month like Black History Month in February. I have my friend Ant here with me today. How are you doing?
Good. Feels good to be here.
Yeah?
First time in the Perfect Timing Multisport space.
And we're so excited to have you. I haven't seen you in a while. We originally met on a ride from Baltimore to DC and back. That ride in particular, I only rode to DC. I let y'all ride back all on your own. And it was such an amazing experience, such a great group of people that you got together for that bike ride. And it was the first time I was doing Baltimore to DC, and I could not have asked for better company and for a better organizer to have brought all those people together. Can you tell us a little bit about that ride and what was it like to plan that
Yeah, so the excuse me. The ride, the idea from the ride kind of stemmed from a ride that the Team Cycling and Royalty group did, or we started, I guess, the first time 2 years ago. So we wanted to create it such that it was something that recurred every year. Wanted to be one of the annual rides. TCR, for anybody that doesn't know, is kind of based out in Philly, but we do have a Maryland chapter. So the DC ride is a way to kind of bring Philly to this side of town and explore some riding. So we had the idea, obviously, to bring it back. I wanted to say this year, but obviously that was last year, 2020, and kind of during the span of time in which we were trying to solidify a date, I met you all, met some cats from KRT, and just in this very small time window, there was I had established reaches with so many different people, and I said, yo, let's just open it up. Let's reach out, put the idea out there, see who wants to join, and it just kind of fell into place in probably one of the most beautiful ways possible. Like I said, members from KRT were there, you all were there, members from the Perfect Timing Multisport, just that whole collective were there. Members from the TCR, Team Cycling Road, were there. Members from my Maryland club, Bella City Riders, were there. Unattached riders were there. My wife, some of her friends, and it was just, like I said, the stars aligned. Everybody jumped on, and we made it happen.
It felt incredibly organic, and there's something about that experience that tells me that it's not the first time you planned such an organic, coming together of people. But before we dive further into your life as a cyclist, I kind of want to know a little bit more about athletics in your youth and what got you into athletics.
Yeah, so growing up I grew up in Prince George's County, Clinton, Maryland. Growing up, just from being on the playground during recess, always had my hand in playing basketball. That was just always there, always available, always accessible. My dad and mom were very heavy into tennis, so probably around middle school they started pushing me. Maybe elementary school, as early as elementary school. Every summer they were pushing me into different tennis camps. So growing up, there was always just basketball and or tennis in some way, shape, or form. We traveled a lot, so in traveling, I picked up a a love for soccer, not a skill set for soccer.
It's a tough sport. It's a stop. And I grew up with it, and it's tough.
Yeah. So I was exposed. I'll just keep it that way. I was exposed to soccer, never really good at it. Soccer and then skiing, and then just kind of as I continue to grow and develop, I've always wanted to engage in some type of activity, whether it's a sport, weight training, which came later on. But as I went through high school, again, soccer was just for play because I couldn't match up to those guys. But I played basketball all through high school, kept tennis up just kind of leisurely with my parents, and then that kind of brought me to more or less the present. In college, I didn't play too much. I was a bookworm, a nerd, but I still did stay active with some of my boys in the gym and stuff like that. So the sports kind of started to, I guess in college, the sports took a backseat to the books. But again, there was always a yearning to stay active and kind of in a way competitive with some of my friends who were having in the gym at the time.
That's awesome. So, you've mentioned quite a diverse scope of sports, and you've mentioned traveling. So I kind of want to know a little bit more about the traveling piece, where you've been and or lived. So yeah, why don't we start there?
Yeah, so where do we move first? I guess coming out of, so from kindergarten to third grade was the first time we moved because of my father's job. We moved to Switzerland. So I was in Switzerland for about three and a half years. Moved back on this side, and like towards the middle of third grade, I think it was the middle of third grade, maybe beginning of third grade, finished elementary school and middle school, and then in high school ended up moving, because my father got a new assignment, ended up moving to Caracas, Venezuela. I was there for all 4 years of high school, and then upon graduation, moved back stateside.
Okay, pausa. Pausa. Pausa means pause in Spanish. I'm saying pausa. I have the privilege of having a guest here with us today that has lived in my home city where I originally come from. And, I remember one of the first time I met Aunt, we got to have a conversation a little bit about what that was like. But for me, what that's like is to have somebody who remembers home the way that I do. Because, as some folks know, my home country has changed immensely in the past 20-year period. And it is an absolute privilege to have somebody who can share memories of home in the way that I also remember it. So this is a very special connection for me, and I'm super excited that you're here. But, tengo que cambiar de idioma porque tenemos también a alguien que es totalmente bilingüe. Entonces, cuéntame un poco de tu tiempo en Caracas, and then we can switch to English because I want everybody to get to hear this.
Entonces, viví en Caracas por 4 años y no voy a hablar en español mucho, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and switch back.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, no. So I was there for 4 years, all 4 years of high school, with both of my parents, my brother and my sister, and the experience was amazing to say the least. Because it's in traveling during that time of my life, high school was probably one of the most socially pivotal times in your life. So for me to have the opportunity to grow in that way overseas was definitely life changing. Definitely something that I'm highly grateful for. But it was culture shock, of course, initially. But once you kind of get over that and actually kind of live in the moments and start to reach out and establish the relationships with your peers and everything like that, it was probably easily one of the best times. You know, one of the best phases, one of the best time windows of my life.
I have a question for you. What was it like to be in Caracas and be a Black American in Caracas?
Yeah, so it was, I guess there's kind of two sides to it. The school I went to was an international school. So upon walking in the door, like the first day, it was obvious that I was one of, at that time, 2 other Black Americans in the school. But on the flip side, just kind of when you navigate through the actual streets and kind of get immersed in the culture, it comes a point when you realize that you look just like a lot of Venezuelans, native Venezuelans who are out there. And there were, several times I was mistaken for a native, and it wasn't until I started speaking English or tried to speak Spanish and they recognized something's not quite right here. But it's it wasn't until those moments were revealed when my status as a Black American in Venezuela was revealed. But as a Black American out there, because of the way when we travel, because of some of the precautions that the embassy told us to take, it was rare that we were looked at as Black Americans versus Americans.
Of course.
We were over there at a time when Americans, if you flaunted the fact that you were American too much, you were a target. So in many ways, the being a Black American, being an American kind of blurred, kind of blended. Because even going through school, playing basketball, just rapping with different people, the question was always a question of whether or not I was gringo or not.
Yeah.
Which pretty much just means are you American?
Yeah.
Was one of the main questions that were asked. Just a normal conversation when you meet people. So to that point is why I say that there's kind of like a blur. Of both. It's obvious that I was a Black American, but to the natives, it didn't matter whether I was a Black American or not, so much as it mattered whether or not I was an American
at large.
Yeah.
I know that you established some pretty foundational relationships in high school, particularly with your art teacher there. Can you tell me a little bit about that relationship, and also like the beginning of your story as an artist?
Yeah, so I guess that was the beginning of my story as an artist. The precursor to that story was just related to me doing little sketches, little cartoons, drawing Garfield in my tracing books and stuff as a child. But in high school was kind of where my art teacher, Miss Hill, loved her to death. Where Miss Hill really started to peel the layers, and make me vulnerable in a sense that I was forced to kind of flourish and kind of rebirth myself, if you will, as in a space where it's just like I am an artist. I am somebody that had something. And again, it was all kind of due to her. All through high school, it was an international baccalaureate high school, so in order to graduate, we had to at that time, we had to take 2 or 3 IB classes. One of them had to be a higher level class. I signed up for higher level math, and she heard me talking to one of my peers in class saying that I needed another IB class. During that time, I was just taking her class just as an elective. She overhears the conversation, steps in, and tells me that I'll be taking IB Art. IB Art higher level at that, which requires, in order to graduate for your credit, that you participate in an exhibition, like a themed exhibition, like a legit open space. Work is displayed on the wall. People are visiting. They're passing out hors d'oeuvres, like a legit type situation. And I cracked. I was like, nah, that's not gonna happen at all. So she says, but you draw, right? I know you draw. I've heard you talking.
That's what happens to you for talking.
I mean,
she put you in your place.
She did. And I thank her for it to this day. But fast forward, she made me go home the next day and come back in with my sketchbook. She goes through the sketchbook and signs me up for the class. Again, I'm supposed to be the one signing up for the class, but she navigated everything, talked to the guidance counselor. They went ahead and put it on my schedule before I knew it. I tried to fight it as much as I could. She ended up having a conversation with my parents.
What did your parents say about this?
So to this day, I'm not really sure what they said, but I think they appreciated her reach, and they always knew that I drew. They always they were always my cheerleaders. So to have a teacher reach out in this way, I'm sure they were just like, oh, you see it too, cool, take them.
So they nurtured your creativity.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Absolutely. Not only nurtured it, but just gave me my space to be in that space, if that makes sense. When I would kind of retreat and just go to my room and close the door and jump into my sketchbook, there was never any intrusion. There was never, yo, what are you doing? You're spending too much time in here. Come spend some time with us. They saw it, they recognized it, and they just kind of let it flourish as I grew.
That's beautiful. What was it like to, be in a position where you had to put together an exhibit? Your first exhibit at that.
So it was just as scary then as it is now. I will tell you that. But no, it was frightening because, again, at that time, all of this is new. She would have conversations with me, and then through those conversations, she would, kind of pinpoint and push me in different directions to explore in my painting. Because I was overseas with my family, that was the closest connection I had to anything. So all of my theme, all of my paintings connected to my home life. What I see my parents do, what I see my mom do, what I see my brother doing, how I see my brother playing my sister. But it was kind of, again, through conversations with her that she she facilitated the process.
Right.
I freaked out the whole way through just because.
But you also showed up for yourself.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
I had to respond. She put me out there. My parents supported it, so I didn't have a choice but to respond. But again, I shook in my boots the whole way. But because it's especially in high school, it's crazy nerve-wracking to make yourself vulnerable enough to produce a painting, period.
Right.
But then to produce a series of paintings connected by the theme, knowing that they're going to be out there for public consumption, as a 15, 16, 17-year-old boy,
it's bold.
It's bold, yeah, and it was scary. Like I keep saying that because it was legit scary.
So, I'm thinking about what you're telling me and the level of boldness you had to have, but also creativity and vulnerability. And, there's a recent project that you have been working on, and I kind of want to, hear a little bit about not only that project, but the boldness that you had to, bring forth and the vulnerability that you had to bring forth for this project. So I kind of want to introduce this moment and have you tell us a little bit about the project, what it is, who you worked on it with, and then we can go into the depth of the creativity. So tell us about it a little bit.
So in December, maybe like mid-December, no, definitely mid-December, I think it was December 13th, I get a Facebook message from somebody from Pactimo asking that asking if I'd be willing to accept the charge of designing and curating a kit in commemoration of Black History Month.
That's huge.
Yeah. So you remember about the scariness, the fear that I talked about?
Yeah, I remember the scariness.
In high school.
Yeah.
So that's the project. So they reached out and asked that I curate a kit in commemoration for Black History Month.
What did it make you feel to have them reach out, to know you as an artist, to know you as a cyclist? I mean, and then be like, can you do us the honor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the knowing me as a cyclist part was already there. I'm an ambassador for the company, so I knew they knew me in that aspect. But knowing me as an artist, at the time, I had no idea where it came from. Like, they reached out, and I'm like, wait, sure you got the right guy? Like, I don't think you've seen my work. How, why me, where did this come from? So to be recognized in that way and pursued in that way, like it wasn't like a group project. They reached out to me and asked me to take on this charge. So it was extremely humbling and scary at the same time. But in the moment, I was very honored. Again, extremely humbled that they hit me, sent me a message, followed up with an email, and maybe like 2 days later, I was on a planning call, still in disbelief. Like, wait a minute, you sure you want me to do it? Like, so it was again, a mix of emotions, but at most extremely humbled.
So I want to take a moment to pause a little bit and go back to an important part, right? Like, you have had the opportunity to grow up traveling as a result of your parents' profession with your siblings. You dive into this relationship with art and, have it be nurtured by a great teacher as well as your family. And it's my understanding that you're also an HBCU grad, right?
Yes.
So there's a lot of things there that come together that I'm assuming that when an ask like this happens, brings about like a burst of ideas and moments of like, I could go in so many directions. Mm. So, folks on the podcast haven't had the opportunity maybe at this point as they're listening to see the kit just yet. But can you tell us, when do we expect folks to be able to see it? And when would the launch be happening?
Yes, I believe the launch should be happening somewhere within the next week, which, depending on when and what time you're watching this, should happen sometime during the first week of February. What the launch exactly will look like, I'm not exactly sure. There should be a couple stories dropping once they figure out what the full month's rollout will be. But the kit reveal itself should be happening during the first week of February.
So now that folks know when the kit reveal is happening, and in the sense of it happening within the next week, we're recording this before February 1st, just so y'all know. Can you tell us a little bit about the process? Because people will then, at the time this is released, have an opportunity to see it. What was the process like for you to put something like this together?
Yeah, so
And have you ever designed a kit before?
No.
Had you ever designed any form of clothing before?
No.
Oh my God. Okay, so tell us everything.
So I've never designed clothing. Like, I've taken my art and and got it printed on clothing, but I haven't actually done garment design or anything of the sort. So even that was definitely a learning curve, and just made this whole process that more exciting. But back to the process. So the ask was that the kit kind of captures the essence of the Black cyclist, of being a part of the Black cycling community, and it just something that just kind of speaks to what it is and what it feels like and what it means to be a Black cyclist, and again part of the Black cycling community. So in trying to navigate through all of that, it would seem that it's easy for me to just say, oh, this is what it means to be a Black cyclist. But I initially had to kind of toss that out of the window, because this was not a kit for me. This was not a kit that was supposed to only speak for me or reflect solely myself. So then the process turned into, again, really kind of thinking holistically about the connections I have, the other cyclists that I ride with, how I feel when we ride together, how they feel when we ride together. So in jogging that idea and trying to make sure that I was really looking through the lens from our perspective versus my perspective, I reached out to my cycling family, y'all, a couple guys from the Team Cycling Royalty crew, Taylor from KRT, my wife, who is a cyclist now, her mom, who is a cyclist now, and just started having conversation, just enough conversation to start to gather and grasp some common trends, some common patterns that my family brings up in conversation to help me illustrate again what is it that people are saying that really keeps them connected to what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. So again, through those conversations, I'm writing down words, writing down buzzwords, writing down quotes to just again start to absorb the essence, the feeling, the energy of what my cycling family is pouring into me. And then there were the trends that surfaced. I mean, I guess, well, you can wait till you see it on the kit. But the trends that surfaced, I kind of distilled into three words, which when you see the kit, you'll see those words written across the back. There's a base layer too, which has the words on the front. It is kind of hot.
What are the words? I want to know.
No, you're waiting till you see it. But no, the words are power, pride, and legacy. So those three words really kind of encapsulated the themes, the essence of the pictures that those who I reached out to were painting in conversation. So that was kind of the easy part. Trying to create the visual was probably the more difficult part. Because like you said, there were so many different directions that I tried to go or considered going. But again, there was only really one direction that we could go, because it was one kid, one time, for everybody. So that part involved, some research, just kind of seeing what's out there. I wanted to make sure that in the colors and even in some of the design elements that it felt like Black History Month. And some of the Black History, designs and graphics that you see out there, you see some of the just different geometric design elements, the colors, the traditional colors that you see when you see anything Black History Month. Started to think about those, started to kind of incorporate that into just again playing with placement and composition and all of that sort. Definitely wanted the kit to be Black, but then again, figuring out placement, colors, design elements, it just took time.
Absolutely. I know that I have had the privilege of seeing this kit, but I have also had the privilege, being by family, to have seen the progression and iterations of the process. And for me, one of the most impactful parts of the kit is the central art piece that you have put together. And I want you to tell me a little bit about the process of creating that, and what were you thinking about as you channeled and drew something so special for all of us to wear.
Mm-hmm. So my main genre is painting. Typically portraiture, but my main genre is painting. So when the idea first started to when I first started thinking about breathing life into the kit, I wanted to paint something, and then in some way have it transfer onto the kit. Again, that after weighing a couple options, that the painting transfer idea kind of got set aside. But again, I still wanted to make sure that there was something from my hand being placed onto and into the design.
Absolutely.
Everything else was kind of on computer, Photoshop, Illustrator, and stuff like that. But those who know me as an artist know that my weapon of choice is a paintbrush in my hand. So again, I wanted to make sure that was somewhere in the piece. Mm-hmm. So I decided to start to develop a line drawing. A line drawing. There are 5 figures on bikes, all moving kind of outward in one direction. The line drawing itself is just one line. There's no start or finish. And just the idea of one line being done in one movement starts to allude to the bond that we have, the sense of oneness that we have as Black cyclists, and sharing this space in this community. So that sense of unison that we have, we recognize it just even in conversation. Like, yo, son, you're a cyclist? Word, okay. Even if we've never ridden before.
Yeah.
There's just something that immediately connects us and bonds us and keeps us bonded. But then it also alludes to just kind of what you see and what you feel when you are out there riding with a group of cyclists. You're connected in so many ways. Shared passion, but even deeper than that, you're connected because we ride for more reasons than just ourselves. Right? We ride for something bigger. Like at a certain point, and when I feel like every Black cyclist journey, you start to wear a cape of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to do it, you have to look good doing it. You have to live it, you have to eat it, you have to breathe it. Like you start riding for a larger purpose. And
you have to keep others safe as well.
Yeah, and there's a responsibility
right.
to keep others safe and to make sure that what you're doing it in a way that you're starting to pave a legacy. One of the words on the kit, to pave a legacy for those who are also looking to step into this space as a cyclist. So again, just the idea behind the line drawing and it being a one line consistent fluid drawing is.
It's incredibly powerful. For me, I have, in the time that I've traveled, I've gone to many of Picasso museums, and nothing stands out to be more than, a lot of his line paintings where he doesn't pick up the brush at any point. So when I had an understanding of that being some of the background of the art, it's incredibly difficult to do, and it is an admirable skill that you have. That piece on the kit is stunning, and I'm so excited for you all to see it. I have to say that when I saw the kit yesterday for the first time, I felt an incredible sense of excitement, and if that's just me on the sidelines, I kind of want to hear how you're so burst into joy, hopefully, when you saw this, like, for real.
Yeah, so my soul continues to burst with joy after, like, every time I see somebody else's response, right? So even though, yes, I did share in your response and Mike's response yesterday, even this, right, continues to pour into that trajectory of excitement and butterflies that I even still have at the moment. It's surreal, man. So even so through the process, there's the 2D, the two-dimensional rendering in Photoshop and Illustrator. So the first phase, once that was done and sent over to be sent to the factory for the 3D rendering, just settling on being happy with the 2D rendering was like, phase one of excitement. Like, oh snap, this is really happening. Like, and it's crazy because at every phase, both of y'all hit me with so how do you feel?
Yeah.
And it's crazy because outside of a couple of different people asking me how I felt, I never really stopped to feel how I felt, right? Because from the time that I was asked to do it, I was on a tight turnaround. I had like a 2-week turnaround. So it was like from the time I accepted in the email, I had to start running. So it was only kind of in between each phase where I was able to step back and breathe and just kind of feel, and then kind of just be in the moment. So the 2D rendering, it was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. But to see something flat on a screen does no justice, and in this case, it did no justice for what it looked like when the 3D rendering from the factory came out. I saw the 3D rendering, like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, even just the technology aspect of it, I may have geeked out probably more from the technology aspect versus the aspect of, yo, that's what I did.
Yeah.
But then to see what we saw yesterday on the site, like
it's real.
The add to cart button, like the photos of the models wearing it from the site.
Yeah.
And just knowing that over the past week that they were going out and doing the photo shoot with the samples of the models was, I was highly anxious, but again, once we got to the point where I was able to pull it up, click that link, I was on top of the world. Like, I was like, yo, I actually made it to the top of the Rocky Steps.
Yes, you did. That would be the second time in 6 months you do that.
True. That is true. But it was but even still, right, as proud of myself as I was, there was still this space in my head where it's like, but are people gonna like it? Like, what are other people's responses gonna be? Are they gonna look at it and just be like, oh, that's cool? Or are they gonna like
dive into it,
like try to unpack the messaging behind it? Are they gonna just like ooze with the joy and the pride of the piece? So again, as I'm still trying, gauging people's responses, again, that continues to pour into me and just keep me on this like ridiculous high that I've been in, like maybe not 24 hours yet, but just it's been a ridiculous high that I've been on since actually seeing it like live, ready to go, ready to purchase.
So I want to be clear. The minute we got this text message, I was like, we need to do an episode because this is a moment, this is so important. But most importantly, there will come a time where there will be an absolute stranger riding past you in that kit, and they won't know that it's you that had made it.
Yeah.
And they'll be wearing your art. They'll be wearing power, legacy, and unity. And I'm so excited for this kit to come out, to be public, but also so incredibly proud of you to see things that you've dedicated your time, your mind, and your skill to, both in cycling and in art, to put something like this together. And it's so interesting to hear the level of nervousness that may come with it and the wave of emotions, but to see you in a place of release and joy and still a little bit of apprehension is really powerful, because I can't wait for this to be everywhere and for everybody to have an opportunity to see it.
Same here, me too.
I'm so excited for you. And so, I kind of want to ask you a little bit of a question, right? Now that you know it's going to be out and that people are going to wear it, and how does it feel to have designed such a memorable kit? A Black History Month kit in 2021.
Yeah.
After the way that 2020 was.
I keep saying it's surreal. I don't think I processed it fully. Right. So when I just, again, I keep referencing your response. I told y'all yesterday when I was on the phone that as soon as I pulled it up on my computer, my wife ran and got her iPad and called her mother. So to just kind of watch that, I'm still just this is happening. All right. So it's again with each piece of it and each reaction that I see, it helps me to continue to process the magnitude of what it is, and what I've done. I don't like to say it like that because I don't like to brag, but
you did do it. You did do it.
You're right. I did. I do need to own that, but it's just crazy. Art has been my passion since I don't know how long. And since stepping into the space of cycling, I've fallen in love with it, and it's been my passion, and I haven't stopped since then. So had you told me a month and a half ago that, yo, son, there's gonna come a time when both of those passions are gonna meet and just blow up. I'm man, you crazy. I mean, I'm still painting. I'm still riding my bike, but
not together.
Not together. Because for me to just kind of foresee that something like this would just come together like that is again still unbelievable, still surreal.
Now, I think the people want to know, and I'm going to be the people for this moment. I'm going to be the people. Do you want to design more kits in the future?
Yeah.
Do you?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. After I've been doing this, I'm
because
wide open, for the opportunity to continue to do so. Yeah.
There's the option of hopefully designing more kits will come down the line for sure, but I mean, for me, when I see this kit, I think obviously right now February is going to be a little bit on the cold side, but when that Juneteenth bike ride comes back, that would be the kit I'd be wearing.
Yeah.
So.
See, it's even when you say stuff I haven't even thought that far. I haven't. So to think that, yes, between now and then, there might be 5, there might be 50 people that have ordered the kit and been wearing it or been looking to reveal it during the June 19th ride is still just big for me. Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited. I'm thrilled to know more about you, but also the path that you were on in the process of putting together this gift that you've given us, which is a gorgeous kit for Black History Month.
Thank you.
Can't deny that Pactimo picked an incredible human to do this. So I'm super thrilled, and like what a great marriage of like your ambassador relationship, your love for the sport and your art, right? Like, so, you know, it's just such a pleasure to hear a little bit more about that whole story and how it came together so quickly. So, I know we have a few minutes left, but I do want to have an opportunity to, you know, ask you some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So when you close your eyes, what's your favorite bike ride that you've done?
Philly. DC to Philly.
DC to Philly. Y'all, you're going to be hearing more about DC to Philly. In a little bit, we'll be posting a second episode featuring Ant as well, where he'll be able to tell you a little bit more about the DC to Philly bike ride and his first hurrah by Rocky before this moment. Another rapid fire question. Favorite food on a long ride?
Pizza.
Okay.
Cheese pizza.
What
Like
about
during the ride?
during the ride?
Yeah, cheese pizza or pepperoni. Just pizza in general.
Pizza in general. Okay, favorite food. That's interesting. Favorite activity?
So favorite food, like food pizza. Like favorite like snack or consumable, Haribo gummy bears.
Oh, really?
Like, you
I
didn't see
love
that
gummy
big bag I
bears.
had in Philly?
No, that's true. Oh, I do love gummy bears. No,
Yeah.
we have that in common. I do love Haribo. I am a huge fan.
Yeah.
Favorite activity to do on a day off the bike?
If not paint, just spend time with the family, whatever it is.
Okay. Favorite
Okay.
board game?
Chess.
Get out. We need to talk.
And Jumanji. We played Jumanji last night with the family. That was the first time. It was kind of fun. But no, chess.
If you had to pick one, kill, kiss, marry, swim, bike, run, what would it be?
Marry, bike, kill, run, kiss, swim.
We have so much in common. There's a reason why I'm sitting here. I agree. I don't play basketball, but I would do the same kill, kiss, marry. I have one last question, and it's not a rapid fire question, but what have you learned from athletics about who Ant is and what he has to offer? I just snuck that one in there.
Yeah, you did. That once committed, I have one of the highest levels of resiliency. Once committed, I have probably one of the highest levels of resiliency and commitment to the sport or the task. Because I've become a student of the things I'm attached to, and I think just that the essence of learning and always being in a place of learning is what keeps me committed to some of the things
That you love to
that
do.
I love to do.
That's fascinating how, you know, that permeates into so many different spaces of life, right? Like something like athletics, then slowly seeping into so many other facets of who we are and what we bring of ourselves. Another question before we close is, you know, how do you define the perfect athlete? You can't be here and not answer that question. That's like the thing.
No, so I'm glad you asked that because my answer to the first question kind of bleeds into this. So that, the perfect athlete is, again, so committed to his or her respective sport that they become a student of the sport. It becomes part of their lifestyle. They're an athlete or connected to whatever the sport is by the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they train, the way they eat. And again, just that, like your lifestyle kind of breathes into the sport that you play, which in turn breathes into your lifestyle. So there's this cyclical nature of just being and being present in your respective sport.
I love it. Well, everybody, we have done the first episode of 2021. We hope that you celebrate all month, but all year. You have this kit that you can wear year-round, depending on your sleeves and your thermals. That you'll be able to have on you, have with you, and have in your heart. And we are super grateful to our sponsors, which include Athletic Brewing, Philly Bike Expo, Urban Athletic Club, and gosh, I'm forgetting one.
Headphone.
Yes, the name of the company.
Aftershocks.
And Aftershocks. So I'm gonna review them. So we have, we're grateful to all of our sponsors. We have Walls Caps, Athletic Brewing Company, Urban Athletic Club, Philly Bike Expo, and the headphone company, Aftershocks. I'm grateful. That is a incredible relationships that we have, and also it's our first episode in 2021, so please have patience with us, but mostly with me. I could not be happier that this is the kickoff episode that we have, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
What are some kind words that you want to leave with people before we go?
Number one, get the kid.
Get the kid.
No, just do what you do, but love what you do.
I mean, those couldn't be better words to start 2021 with. Happy Black History Month, y'all. Enjoy seeing the kit. Enjoy wearing the kit. I know I will.
Hit Pactimo. I've been wearing them for, I can't say years because I've only been doing this for 2 years, but since I started, hit Pactimo.
They're
excellent
great.
clothing, excellent accessories, excellent company. Again, of course, shout out to them for giving me the opportunity. But yeah, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Perfect Time and Multisport. Yeah.
All right, y'all. See you soon.